I'd say every painting has moments, those little 2 square inches where you're like, yeah. My name's Joe, and I paint paintings. Well, ever since I started painting, I feel like I'm following a line. I feel like I entered a room and there's a string on the ground, and it kind of goes out the room, and I kind of picked it up and started following it. And all along the line, people say, put that string down. You could be doing this, you know. And to me, it's about, you know, where's the string leading to, and slowly learning the vocabulary. Like, I feel like I finally have learned the alphabet, and now I'm ready to start putting, you know, small paragraphs together and short stories perhaps together. My art isn't just a style I put on because I think it might be perceived as cool. It's an extension of what I am inside. My wife's mother says, lead with your hands and your mind will follow. And so I take that to heart when I started painting and put it up. And before I know what I'm gonna do, you just start smearing around and seeing what the canvas wants to be instead of what I want it to be. Usually it's more moments in a piece than an actual piece that makes me go, oh, right there. Look how he dulled that to make it look like it's not shiny where the wood's stripped up, and next to it it's shiny, and just that juxtaposition. Or I was currently looking at a piece where there was a purple background with a design, and it was all continuous except for in the bottom where the design was white, it kicked to black just at the bottom, and by doing that, the whole thing felt like velvet. Just that one little shift. That's amazing. You know, stuff like that makes your heart beat faster, and you know, when you get excited about something, that's what I look for in a piece. You know, where else can I go? Not interested in repeating what I've done, but you know, keep following that string into the future. And where's it going to lead me around the corner and up the stairs, and you know, so it's more about following that than looking at what was behind me.
I've always drawn my whole entire life. Ever since I was a little kid, I drew. I made my own magazines, even when I was like 6 years old. I'm Martha Rich. Well, I drew all throughout high school, elementary school, all the different schools in between. And then I went to liberal arts college in Ohio, Denison University. It's very, you know, it looks like a college that you would go to, you know, with the ivy on the walls and keg parties and frat houses. And I took an art class. I was going to be an art major there, and I had a teacher who pretty much just told me that I couldn't draw. And being 18 years old and just kind of a freak, I just quit. And I didn't do art again until Los Angeles, which is kind of sad. Just some dumb guy. I don't think who is he to say anything? I mean, that's just crazy. Well, the whole story is, I moved out here to LA, and I took a graphic design class because I thought I wanted to design magazines. And I took a class on a whim. And that class turned out to be taught by Rob Clayton and Christian Clayton. The minute I took that class, I walked in the door and heard them talk and saw their art, I knew that I was going to bag the graphic design. And it was the coolest class I ever took. They actually saved my life. They saved me from a life of wearing pantyhose and working in a cubicle forever. I think the people who respond to my paintings most are people who want to be artists but haven't done it yet, like they're doing something else, and they hear my story about how I went from being kind of, you know, housewifey, working at a 9-to-5 job, and kind of just jumped and changed everything, like quit my job and changed my whole life without even really thinking about it. I get a lot of women who come up to me, and guys too, who come up to me and say that they wish they could do it. And I tell them that, you know, you can. It's just kind of scary, but it was probably the best thing I ever did. What I get most inspired by is just like looking through old magazines and catalogs and that kind of stuff. And just, watching how stupid everything is on TV, and it just makes me want to paint stupid, funny stuff. But I have these sketchbooks. That's what fuels it. That I just do stuff in whenever I feel like it. If I'm just, sitting watching a movie, I'll be like, oh, I need to paint that. And I'll just take that out and forget the movie. And that fuels everything that I do. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again, so I started off I put leaves in my paintings and sanded them back. I put real leaves. And then I like to cut out just cool stuff from old magazines, or cookbooks too. I like old food pictures. And I just try to collect stuff when I go to estate sales, and I don't know what it's going to be. It's just sort of whatever is in my drawer full of stuff. I'll pull it out and see what calls my name. But I don't like to do the same thing over and over again and always put a certain thing in a painting. Everybody knows I like to paint bras and underwear, but I'm kind of moving out of that right now, and I'm into wigs. I think I like ladies stuff, because I'm not really a girly girl, but I like girly girl stuff. And bras and underwear are really fun to paint, and so are wigs. I'm really into the advertisements in the back of 1970s magazines. Honestly, I haven't changed since I was 6 years old, drawing-wise. My dad was looking through his basement and found all these old things that I did, and he sent them over to me. And it's kind of scary, because I'm kind of doing the exact same thing I did when I was 6 years old. I mean, the same sense of humor. I'm still gross. I did these before and after pictures of ladies, when they were really gross, and they would have scabs and nose hair and warts coming out of their face. And then I'd make a beauty treatment and I'd make them all pretty. But I mean, I still am kind of interested in that stuff. I do a lot of before and after paintings. I like to paint people who have kind of done things their own way. Like Coal Miner's Daughter is my favorite movie. I love Loretta Lynn. I just like to paint people who are cool and are doing something different and aren't just like the same old thing. I share a studio with Mark Todd, Esther Watson, Saley O, and Souther Salazar, and Caliph Brown. And it's actually, since I've been there, everything's kind of improved. And I've gotten more jobs. We support each other. We throw parties. We kind of are influenced by each other. It's really great. I also just recently collaborated with Esther on a McSweeney's book, which turned out, it was probably the funnest collaboration I've ever done. We just sort of bounced ideas off of each other and just were funny and silly about it, and we didn't care if we messed somebody else's stuff up. Find cool people to hang out with who have the same ideas about art that you do, and keep in touch with them and constantly talk about what you're doing. And you definitely have to have a community, otherwise you can't. I just don't think you can. Maybe some people can, but I don't think you can do it by yourself. I couldn't do it by myself. It wouldn't be as fun.
I'm mainly inspired by where I grew up, growing up in the suburbs, kind of outside of a city. That kind of contrast between mind-bending boredom, but knowing there's something cool to do, but not having any idea how to make that happen. My name is Kevin Christy. I'm a painter and creative director of the Broken Wrist Project, which is an art collective and publishing company. Our main goal is to get work out of young artists while they're young, as opposed to having to wait till they get their coffee table books. A lot of the artists we're working with, they're amazing, talented folks who will one day have these gigantic books, but I hate waiting for that kind of stuff. I started working while I was in school, and I met a friend of mine, James Hughes. I wanted to make illustrated short stories, but I was having trouble with the writing. So I kind of hooked up with him, and he's a really great writer, and I was like, would you ever want to write some short stories for me to illustrate and stuff? And then we kept kind of working with each other and realized that it was something that we could actually do ourselves and that it could be really great. James knew a bunch of writers, so that was a great way to get more writing and stuff, and I knew tons of artists, so we just combined the two and put out a book. put out was illustrated short stories and then features on artists. And then there's 2 features on artists, and then there's usually like 2 or 3 illustrated stories. So there's usually like 6 to 10 people in the book. We want to use as many artists as possible and just branch out, and because there's so many great people doing great things out there that we want to get just to all of them. You know, that's kind of the main challenge. Is there's so many rad artists out there that there's not enough like projects to put them in. I always tell people, like, think about like what made you start drawing in the first place when you were like 12, 13. Like what made you like not pay attention to the teacher and just sit in class and draw? Like, what were you drawing then? Like, I was drawing like comic book guys and Transformers and stuff. I mean, that's like the same reason you're still drawing, but you get all convoluted throughout school. People tell you what you should be doing and what's going to make you successful, and I think what makes you successful is just like making great work. Really try to just focus on yourself as an artist. I mean, look at lots of what people are doing, but like, you really got to be yourself. The only way you can make it as an artist, I think, is to be unique, and the only way you can really be unique is to like be yourself.
I've always been doing art, and I didn't know if I was going to make a profession at it. I just thought it was fun. Hi, my name is Jeff Soto. I've always been interested in nature, and I think it goes back to my parents. My parents always kind of teaching me to respect nature. A lot of the stuff that comes out in my work is like organic shapes and you know, flowers and roots and, you know, different appendages, you know, lobster looking things and jellyfish shapes. I started out a long time ago when I was a little kid. I really got interested in drawing and painting, and I started seeing stuff on the news about Chaka. You know, do you guys remember Chaka? I was like, wow, what is this guy doing? You know, he's tagging? What is that? What's tagging? So I got a book from the library about graffiti art, and I didn't know there was this whole other art side to it besides the tagging, and I really got into it. You know, I took paint out of my my parents' garage, and I found this place to paint, this abandoned water tower. Next thing you know, I was getting D's and F's. When I was like an A and B student, my whole life became doing graffiti, and I think that's one of the things that really slowed me down but opened some doors too. I think college had a big impact on my life. Not only art center, but also community college. I started taking all these really cool, mind-blowing classes. They don't seem mind-blowing because it's like figure drawing, you know? But to me, it was something so new, and I really had to work at it. My first show that I would consider a big solo show was at New Image Art. The show was called Potato Stamp Dreams. It was in a pretty small room. It was like a 10 foot by 10 foot room. And I did this huge installation, I don't even know, maybe 1,000 pieces. It was very well received by other people that were looking at art, other art galleries, artists, and buyers too. A lot of people bought pieces from that show. And that was a real trip for me because, you know, I still had a few semesters left at Art Center. I was also looking at, you know, like the street artists. Like I was looking at Barry McGee and Margaret Kilgallen, and some others that were kind of working in a different style, kind of breaking the boundaries of that square canvas. So I started kind of doing that too. I kind of took it upon myself to do some public pieces that weren't part of any class or anything. I would just put them up at night around the school, kind of guerrilla art style. I'd usually have some kind of sketch or an idea of what I was trying to say with the piece. I would start with one main piece and kind of stick them up on the wall and paint and do my thing and just keep building outward. So that felt good, and I was really happy with just being able to do something that was not so tied down, you know. It just felt free and good, you know. It just felt good. One of the things I do before a show is I get a floor plan, and I try to plan out how I want the viewer to interact with the show. With the Black Market show, there was like a little alcove space, and I wanted to make that space super busy, so just full of small pieces and photography and collage, and it was just packed with imagery, whereas the rest of the show is pretty sparse. There was like, a piece every 10 feet. I feel like it was kind of like a culmination of all my best pieces, and most of the stuff was brand new. This piece in the background was kind of like the centerpiece of the show. A lot of that show was about, I guess, man versus nature. Just kind of how humans have pretty much taken over every square inch of this planet. We think we have mastery over the earth, but we don't. What's going to be left in 1,000 years? What's the earth going to look like in 1,000 years? What's the earth going to look like in 10,000 years?
To me, it's just, if it's not going to be as exciting as going to Disneyland, then, what's the point? My name's Camille Rose Garcia. I grew up in Los Angeles. Both my parents are artists. When I was in high school, I would, just for money, I would draw record covers for my friends and get like $20. So I was like, cool, I won't have to have a job. I could do that. Half of your success life is all rejection. You just move on from it, It's not like you just emerge one day from this art cocoon and were fabulous and everyone loved you, I've gotten tons of rejection in my life. I pretend that people are crazy, that's what I do. I sort of have an idea for a painting, but then I'll let a lot of accidents happen and sort of unknown things come into it. They really get good when I don't really know what it's going to end up like in the end. My process usually starts in the written form. I'm very influenced by William Burroughs and how he sort of does a broken narrative. He'll write and then cut it up and rearrange it. Because I like a sort of non-linear relationship between either symbols or the storyline, just so it's not so obvious. Like 40s noir, like Betty Boop, sort of that sort of, I like that sort of simple graphic, like animated character, and then it also triggers something in your memory, I think, too, for everyone. It's like this sort of collective memory of, childhood and good things, and those really cool cartoons as well. They have a narrative, they have a storyline. But the ones from the 40s are totally, they were all on drugs, I'm convinced, because that's just weird. That's kind of what I like to do with my paintings too, is have, just not be super obvious in one-liner, just have people's imaginations fill in the blanks. The audience doesn't always need to know my storyline or my narrative. They read other things into it all the time. And people are always like, I like those cherry girls, I like those girls, and I don't know, that's just really funny to me, because it is of course you like the girls. Of course you like the little ducky. Everyone likes the little cute things. So I just tend to exploit that and use that. And, that's sort of what I want to operate on, is that it can be sort of visually intriguing and enchanting, but still have sort of a political, social commentary sort of underneath.
But
But I think everybody's just sort of embracing visual imagery in so many different ways, and just art in general. It's just so inspiring because I think there's a broken mold lying somewhere, and we're all just sort of running away from it, going, "Yay, we can do whatever we want." My name's Tim Biskup. That's it, right?
That's cool.
When I was a kid, I was really inspired by like Big Daddy Roth and Disneyland and television. I watched cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons like crazy. I guess I've just always drawn. I've always made things. I've always liked writing and drew all through high school, and then went to art school for a little bit and hated it. There were so many things that I wanted to do, but I did not want to be in art school, and I didn't want to be an artist. So I dropped out. It took me so long to figure out what I really wanted, and I still don't know completely. A lot of people agree that animation is the most difficult art form in the world because it's so complex and it takes such amazing ability to do. And it just inspired me. I wanted to be a part of it. I started reading all these books about animation and Chuck Jones, where he said that every person has 100,000 bad drawings in them, and the trick is to get them out as fast as possible. So I drew like 5 hours a day. And I figured out at one time that I was painting about 2 paintings a day for 5 years of my life. Andrew Brandow calls it brush mileage. And it's so true. Just that constant, brush stroke, perfecting the brush stroke, perfecting the shape. I mean, that's just training. And no art school will ever be as powerful as that, for me at least. I sketch a lot. I carry a sketchbook with me all the time, and if I forget it or something like that, then, I have napkins, piles of napkins, and paper bags and just random flyers and things like that I just, I'll just sketch constantly, and those ideas are, you have to grab them when they come out, so I end up with just piles of things like that. So I usually refer back to sketches when I'm working on a painting because there's just so many little ideas that I'll forget. Little shapes or little design elements and things like that I'll forget about. The last show I did was called The Golden Pill. I didn't really know why it was called The Golden Pill, but as I worked on it, I realized that my work is sort of like medication for me. It lets me express things that I can't say, that only can be paintings. My career is all about making more freedom for myself and more comfort and being able to just sit around and do what I want to do and have that be the thing that people want. That's an absolute dream. If you constantly try and clarify what your own desires are, then you can achieve whatever you want. I think the most important thing is embrace your true desires. If you want to be a friggin' lowrider builder, then do that. That's where you're going to learn how to be an artist. When I was a kid and I was drawing skulls and everything, and I was drawing all this punk rock stuff, teachers told me not to do it. My parents told me not to do it. Everybody told me not to do it. And what they didn't realize was that was my channel to art. I didn't feel comfortable doing it because so many people were telling me not to do it. So I think embrace what inspires you and move forward with it.
He was always making art and skateboarding, and I was in a punk band, and we always kind of collaborated in some way or another. I'm Rob's little brother, Christian Clayton.
I'm Rob Clayton.
We started a long time ago when we were real little, making imagery and stuff, but our father was an illustrator, so photographer, designer, so we kind of had not Grew much up in of the it. studio. Yeah, I mean, he would just bring us and to occupy us, he'd give us paintbrushes and stuff and let us go to town. I mean, we were really encouraged by our family to go forward with our vision, pushing that in, you know, the individuality of both of us. When I got out of high school, he started college art school, and I was in a punk band, and he used to make the flyers for my band. And then later on, he ended up going to art center, and I was just messing around, and I kind of saw him take off and become really passionate about making art, and then realized I got to get my stuff together and jumped into school. We met an art director by the name of Jeff Williams. He wanted both of us to work on the same project, and that's kind of when the idea started that, you know, we could work together on the same painting, so we started right then. That's kind of like how Clayton Brothers started.
It was really nice and smooth and went really well. And we'd messed around with like painting on each other's paintings and stuff. The whole job went really great. It's really easy, really fun. We just kind of said, hey, let's do some more of this. So we started promoting it.
Empathy Lost. It's a painting we did that's 12 inches by 10 or 11 feet. That was kind of like, to me, the pinnacle of collaborating together and really feeling like it was a 100% collaboration between the two of us. And just, you know, the painting itself, I think, it was the easiest painting I've ever done because, you know, working with him, I love my brother, you know, we're really tight. And to have, like, that experience to, like, painting on the, you know, the same painting together, it really, you know, that's the one that I think would probably be.
The cool thing about all that too is the fact that when we start projects like that on our own, like pieces of work like this or like Empathy Lost, like he's talking about, we have no idea what we're going to do. It just happens. It just, all of a sudden this thing kind of emerges from something, and to me that's just like spontaneous and fun. And it's like, to us, we just do whatever we want, and
Painting and drawing and all that, just kind of, it's the medium.
photography, anything we can get our hands on, we love to explore. And I think each time we do that, our sensibilities as artists kind of come through, or the way we envision things.
It's built into us, the narrative and the way we work as, even as kids now, like working together and actually collaborating together, we really start to, and you look at it and you kind of back up and you start to realize what you're about. I mean, the book that we're making now, it's been a lot of fun to make, but it kind of reiterates the narrative that's been in us since day one.
So, I mean, it's just us having fun. We're just like little kids occupying our time and making cool stuff. And I think it's getting better and better each time we jump into something with one another. It's getting bigger and I don't know, it's just like speaking to a larger audience now.
Don't you try, don't you break a sweat, keep it